Janice, you're muted.
Oh, it's not just our school.
Perfect. Okay, and I think the recording has started. But just going to stop the transcription. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. So again, the purpose of this presentation this evening is to share some information about the Vancouver School District's Early French Immersion programs. And the target audience this evening is parents who are considering enrolling their children in Early French Immersion kindergarten for the upcoming school year. This session is being recorded and it will be posted on the VSB website. So before we begin, it is essential to acknowledge that we live, work, and learn on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh nations, for which I'm very, very grateful. It's some beautiful lands to have the privilege to live on and to work on. So the agenda for this evening is on the screen. So we're going to talk about French programs, Early French Immersion in particular. We're going to talk about the schools that offer EFI programs. We're going to talk about how students learn French. We'll go through a typical day in EFI, Early French Immersion kindergarten. We'll talk about the success factors as well as some considerations. We will talk about how to support your child in Early French Immersion. And we'll also talk about the application process. And then at the end, that should take us about 20 minutes. And then at the end, we'll have a chance to answer some of your questions. So I just want to give a little round of introduction. So I'm Janice Myers. I'm a director of instruction. I have the privilege of working with the district choice programs in my portfolio here at the school board. This evening, I am joined by Jackie Lavoie, who is the principal at l'École Bilingue, as well as Katarina McNichol. She's a vice principal at Tennyson Elementary School, and Doug Rock is the principal, district principal, of educational planning and student information. He's here as well and will be speaking to the application process and the lottery. So there are also a few other French immersion administrators on the call. And this presentation is a general presentation for all the French immersion, Early French Immersion programs in the district. So thank you for joining us. So the French immersion in this in the Vancouver School District has been in operation. We have had programs for over 36 years. There are 4,000, the numbers are up on the screen, but just over 4,500 students participating in Early French Immersion at 14 schools, and that's K to 12. The students in grades 5 to 12 who aren't in Early French Immersion, they participate in Core French in our regular mainstream programs. We have 144 students in Late French Immersion in grades 6 and 7 in 3 different schools. And finally, we have 100 students in intensive French programs, again, in grades 6 and 7 in 2 of our schools. The Early French Immersion is an immersive program. So students learn to speak, to read, to write in French. Students complete their subject learning in French. It's intended for non-French speaking students who wish to develop a high level of proficiency in both official languages. Students gain functional literacy in French. The entry into the Early French Immersion program is in kindergarten, and that program goes through until grade 12. And grade 1 students can also enter Early French Immersion up until September 30th if space is available. So we will speak to the differences of the kindergarten entry and the grade 1 entry at the end of this presentation. The Early French Immersion is a program that follows the same curriculum as the regular English program. It does have the addition of a dual language program, if you will, a dual language curriculum. So kindergarten to grade 3, 100% of the instruction is in French. Grades 4 to 7, it's about 50 to 80% of the instruction is in French. Students start learning English language arts, and some of the schools also do math in English at the intermediate levels. The secondary Early French Immersion programs in Vancouver are Churchill Secondary, Kitsilano, and at Van Tech. And if children go through to grade 12, then they would graduate with a double dogwood certificate. So this is, these are the schools that we have. We have a map on this one here. So this map shows the many locations of the early immersion programs, and it is quite small. I'm realizing as I'm looking at it, but so in essence, though, the district does have, they have prioritized distributing access to early French immersion programming across the entire district. So the yellow stars on the map are early French immersion. The red stars are the intensive French. The secondary programs are in green. So it is across the district. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Katarina McNichol, who's going to speak about how students learn in French.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. So how do our students learn French in Early French Immersion? Our teachers have a variety of strategies to help our kids to learn French or acquire the second language, which is French. For example, through songs, through rhymes, games, repetitions, and a variety of different activities. We begin developing students' receptive language skills, followed by their productive skills. That is from, listening, then to speaking, then to reading, and then to writing. Usually in French immersion from K to 3, English is not used or taught. However, in the beginning of kindergarten, definitely the teachers use English to help bridge language learning as well when safety is a factor. The teachers emphasize, sequential introduction of vocabulary that becomes more complex over the years. And by grade 4, students acquire quite a good proficiency of oral French language as well as reading and writing. In the early years, the emphasis on, homework is usually the home reading program. Sometimes the dictate or the spelling test as well. Sometimes, they also assign special projects that, the parents are welcome to do with their children. What is the typical day in a French immersion kindergarten? So although this slide, shows, a variety of activities, however, it's not the whole scope of the activities. It may also include assemblies or field trips or workshops, PE, et cetera, et cetera. Usually at 8:55, the teacher, meets their children by the door, or by the classroom door, or by the school, and the kids say au revoir, mama et papa, and they go to the classroom. At 9 o'clock, it's a morning routine, which is usually the calendar where the children learn about, the weather, how to say, what is the day of the week, how the month of the year. They are learning numbers and, how many days of school they have had. This is followed by the songs or chants or some repetitions. At 9:30 is a circle time, which is a very important time to develop oral French language skills with our students. The teacher reads a book that is, related to a theme of the month. So the students have a chance to repeat the vocabulary or common phrases or respond to questions. About 10 o'clock, it's a snack time. So our children prepare for, to eat their, snack and go for recess, which starts at 10:30 until 10:50. They come back. And at 11 o'clock, they start an activity which is related to literacy or numeracy. It can be independent workstation, phonic introduction practice. Teacher reads another book that is also related to the month's theme. They may work in a journal, which is writer's workshop. They do theme-related projects or hands-on math activities, and usually, math is not always like paper and pencil. It's lots of manipulatives or playstations related to math. At about 11:45, it's time to eat their lunch. Children eat their lunch, and by 12:05, they're ready to go for long recess lunch that lasts until 12:52. That follows by the quiet time, which can be, sometimes yoga, sometimes, some activities like drawing, and music appreciation, mindfulness, etc., etc. It definitely can vary from classroom to classroom, from one school to another. At 1:15 to 1:20, they start science project or social studies. It can be art, music, activities. It's led by the teacher, or sometimes it's a specialist teacher that, also work in our schools. At 2 o'clock, it's a usual center time. It can also vary from class to class. Some examples are sandbox, Lego kitchen center, block center, music listening center, puppets, dramatic play, etc. Definitely, the kids are encouraged to use those words that they already know in French. However, of course, they communicate in English during that time. 2:30 is the last center of the day. When the teacher may read another short book. It's another an opportunity for children to practice French language skills, ask questions, say something, express their opinion. And at 3 o'clock, they prepare to go home and dire au revoir, mon professeur, and meet their mom and dad. So this is a typical day in kindergarten. Definitely can not be always the same. It can vary depending on the activities, on the month of the year, and also a special project that the teachers do in their classrooms. Now I can turn it on to Madame Jackie Lavoie.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Happy to be here this evening. So my topic I'm covering is who is Early French Immersion intended for? So we want to emphasize that it is not necessary to have any experience in French. We certainly do not require that the caregivers speak French, although you will certainly learn along the way with your child. And it is available to all students, but please keep in mind that it may not be for all students. So just some general success factors. These are just a few. Great that if your child is a risk taker, is not afraid to make mistakes along the way, as that is how we learn. We encourage the students to speak French. So it's great if your child is comfortable attempting. It's wonderful also if your child has a positive self-esteem, feels confident, is cooperative with their peers. You'll certainly know, especially if they've had some preschool experience, if this is a good fit for them. And again, if they feel confident and they're willing to learn, then that is definitely an advantage. As mentioned, if they're willing to learn, receptive to learning French, if this is even their third language, perhaps, then that is great as well. So that shows that they're able to and they want to. Again, a willingness, and they're not afraid to try. Attempts to communicate in French. We certainly do not have expectations in kindergarten that they must be communicating at all times in French, but it is amazing to see that generally by the end of kindergarten, they are, even now at this time of year, able to communicate some phrases with their teacher. And of course, the teacher is encouraging them ongoing to speak and to try to say a few sentences, even simple sentences as going to the washroom, may I get a drink of water, just very simple phrases. Attending school regularly is certainly helpful as it is, as you heard, an oral receptive language program. So they're hearing, they're absorbing. In schools, people will speak French to them, other educators, librarian, the gym teacher perhaps. You'll hear the announcements, assemblies, concerts. So if they're there all the time, we know it's not always possible, but at least they're absorbing the language on a daily basis. And they really are like little sponges, just soaking it all up. And of course, it's important that the family members are all comfortable and supportive with choice of program. There's no expectation that parents have to teach their children French at home, but it is a commitment. We always say it's a commitment on the family's part. So definitely it is a team approach between home and school, like any program. And of course, parents being comfortable and on board is definitely an asset as well. Some others, established first language. We want to emphasize that the first language does not need to be English, but having a good base of a mother tongue would demonstrate that the child is able to learn a second language. Good ability to listen in a highly oral program. Now, again, we don't expect children to be sitting still. That's not how they learn, especially in kindergarten. They learn through a lot of play and hands-on, but also able to listen and to pick up the language. And again, participates readily in new learning situations. So again, that's part of the risk-taking. That's how they learn. Some considerations. So a diverse learning profile. So this, we want to emphasize, is an inclusive program. It is for all students and not just one type of child. It is a highly verbal students. Again, you know, if you feel your child is wanting to learn a second language and willing, that's definitely an asset. And we want to also let you know that there are resource support available in French immersion schools as there are in English schools. We're not saying that the child needs to come in with absolutely no learning challenges. That's not reality or a requirement. Again, there are many students in French immersion who do have some learning challenges and who are very successful because we have resources in place to help all children succeed. So how do I know if my child is experiencing success? Well, teacher feedback, ongoing communication with the teacher is extremely important. And your teacher will do a fabulous job of communicating with you on an ongoing basis through many different avenues, either report cards or oral conversations, meet the teacher, one-on-one parent meetings, communication from the parents back and forth to the teacher, so it's ongoing. We hope that they will develop a receptive and expressive skills in French. That is the goal. They will certainly transfer their reading and writing skills. You will see that as they progress through the years. And of course, they will acquire age-appropriate literacy and numeracy skills, and that is ongoing. Again, everybody learns at a different pace, at a different way, at a different time, but they certainly will acquire those skills as they would in any program. How do you support your child? Well, it's really important that you continue to read with your child in your home language. Again, that does not need to be French, although again, you will learn along the way. So reading daily with your child is very important. Continue to play those normal language and number games at home, again, in your first language, but also show an interest in their French learning. Have them teach you. You'll find that your children will be singing those songs in the car as you're driving or playing at home. So you will hear along the way. And trust your teacher's professionalism, knowledge, and experience. We have very highly professional teachers who are extremely committed to the French immersion program, who are there to support you along the way and your child. So just a few common questions. I won't go through all of them, but these are some frequent questions we receive. So yes, your child will succeed in English as they do in French. Their English skills will not suffer. In fact, we find that they transfer their skills that they learn at the primary grade. So the primary grades are K to 3. And as mentioned, when they get to grade 4, that's when the English instruction begins, and they transfer those skills. There may be a bit of a lapse in grade 4, but we find that even by mid-grade 4, definitely when they head into high school, they are on par with their English peers. What if my child speaks 2 languages? That's wonderful. It demonstrates that they're able to acquire even a 3rd language. If they have difficulty in their mother tongue, then that may be a consideration. We would explore maybe the why. Oops, lost there. And what happens if they can already read and write above the K level? Again, in any grade or any program, that would be the teacher's responsibility then to make sure that we are taking them where they are at and pushing them to their very best potential. There's lots more information at the website on the bottom, and we will ask or respond to further questions at a later time after the next part. So thank you. I'm handing it over to Doug. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much, Jackie. Hi, everyone. My name is Doug Rock. My title is District Principal Educational Planning, and essentially one of my roles, I work with a team here at the district office with registration and student enrollment, and that includes working to support applications for choice programs, including French immersion, and that whole process. Just historically, I've also been a school-based administrator for a number of years prior to this, working in French immersion programs in our district, both at Tennyson and Selkirk. So delighted to be here with you, and great to see such an amazing turnout to learn about our French immersion program. So thank you all for joining us tonight. So a little bit about registration. First point here, so first you register through your English catchment school, and this is a really, really important step. So all students, all children who are applying to any of our schools, whether you're applying for French immersion or different choice program or one of our amazing English community programs, you need to apply to your English catchment school. That's the first step, and it's the only first step that we have. And so you're going to need to do that. I'm sure many of you have already, and there's the website right there. By the way, our website has lots of information. So if you have any questions about registration, whether it's for choice programs or general registration for kindergarten or any grade, do take a look at our website. There's lots of information there for you. First, if you haven't already done so, you'll register your child at your English catchment school through the VSB Apply Now app. If you don't know what your English catchment school is, there's actually a tool called the School Locator. It's right on our website. Even if you Googled it, you'll find it that way. You enter your address and it indicates what your English catchment school is. So your catchment school, so once you've applied, there's an application process online. If there's any issues or any challenge with that, as you apply, there's contact information of folks who work here at the district office who can help you, and our schools can help as well. So the catchment school, once you've applied at your English catchment school, your catchment school will contact you directly to verify documents. So the first step is an online application, then there's a verification of documents. And at the bottom here, documents so such as your child's birth certificate, child's immunization records, proof of residency, picture ID, things like that, right? And so that's done in person, and there's an invitation to do that. Hopping back up to the third, I'll just go back one slide. Thank you. So I went to the fourth and going back to the third. Registration for kindergarten, general English kindergarten priority starts beginning of November. So it's registering now, and it is through the end of January. So January 31st, you'll need to apply by the last day of January to your English catchment school to then be able to apply for any choice program such as French immersion. You'll notice here it says it's not first come, first served. So we don't have lineups or anything like that. You need to apply within the window, okay? Within that window. And I'll move to the next slide. So once you've registered at your English catchment school, you're then able to register for kindergarten French immersion or any of our choice programs. It's through the same process for kindergarten. It's an online application, and that opens January 9th to February 3rd. So it opens first thing in the morning, January 9th. That's a Monday, and closes Friday, February 3rd at 4 p.m. There's the website. And as I said, the website, our registration websites have lots of detailed information. So everything that's presented here, you'll also find on our district website, as well as some more information for you there. When you apply, you can indicate up to 3 choice programs or schools. So what that means is that any family or any parent for one particular child is able to apply for up to 3. So you can apply for 1 choice program, you can apply for 2, or you can apply for 3. But 3 is the maximum that's one of our administrative procedures, is that it is a maximum of 3. And the choice website will only allow you to register for 3. You don't have to register for 3. You can certainly register or apply, I should say, for 1 or 2, but you can for up to 3. And one nuance there is we have various choice programs. So French immersion is one choice program that's offered at 12 schools. We have other programs such as Montessori, fine arts, early Mandarin bilingual, and a few others. And that's 3 choice programs total. So for example, if one applies for early French immersion at school A, early French immersion at school B, and Montessori at school C, that counts for 3. If one was to apply for early French immersion at school A, school B, and school C, that counts for 3. So up to 3 combined total. There's no priority zones. If you're a brand new parent to the district, that may not mean as much to you, but if you're a parent who has had children in the system for a number of years, we used to have what was called priority zones for French immersion that were related. They look kind of like a catchment. So they're related. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Thank you so much for turning off your microphone. It used to be that there were priority zones based on address. Not the case anymore. So parents may choose to apply to any of the 11 French immersion VSB schools or other choice programs. And the catchment, so to speak, for any of our choice programs, French immersion, Montessori, etc., the catchment is the entire city of Vancouver, right? So there's not a priority, for example, if you live a little bit closer to school A than school B, for example. Oh, looks like there we go. Perfect. And I'm down on the 4th bullet here. So if there are more applicants than spaces for any given school, for any given choice program, there's a draw that's held in February. So schools have a certain number of spaces. So depending on the number of kindergarten classes, we call it our staffing, but the number of kindergarten classes, 1 class, 2 class, etc., that we have. If there are more applicants in space, then there is a computerized draw that's held. Now you'll see the note after siblings. The reason that's there is we do have a procedure that there is sibling priority. So if a family does have a sibling that's currently in the school, and will also be in that particular school the following school year at the same time as the kindergarten child for whom you're applying now, that child is eligible for sibling priority. So for example, if your child, Sarah, has a sibling, John, and John is in grade 3, at the time of application in the same school, and will also be in the same school the following year, so let's say in grade 4 in that same school, then your child would have sibling priority. It's really important, when you log into the Choice app, there's about 7 or 8 pages that it kind of walks you through, and you answer questions, a lot of information, and then you kind of answer questions, so to speak. One of those questions is, does your child have a sibling? It's absolutely vital that if you do have your child does have a sibling attending that particular school you're applying for, that yes, it's a drop-down menu, it's a yes or no, and if you click yes, you're then prompted to enter their PEN number. That PEN stands for provincial education number. It's something, if you don't know it and you have a child already in a school, the school that your child's registered in now, attending now, they can give you the PEN number, and that's how we verify that there is a sibling. But it's absolutely vital that you know that yes, there is a sibling. Otherwise, we don't have a record of that. So really important to follow all those prompts. All applicants are contacted by email. So it's an email contact. We get many applicants, and emails is an effective and efficient way for us to communicate with you. It also gives you a record. And so you'll be contacted mid-February with an offer or waitlisted. So you'll find out the results. So the email will say something like, your child is offered a placement, or thank you very much for applying. There were more applicants than space, and your child is waitlisted. If you are contacted with an offer for placement in any of the choice programs, it's absolutely vital that you respond to that offer in writing. So you respond back to the school, to the email from which the offer was sent to you within 48 hours. Okay, that's the window. After 48 hours, we would need to move on to the next student who's on the list, on our wait list. So if your child is offered a space, you must accept by 3 p.m. So in the email you receive, it'll be really clear the date and time by which you need to accept or decline that offer. So the date will be specified in the email, or the space is forfeited and offered to the next child on the wait list. And as we said, we do tend to have a number of applicants, and we want to work with all of our families to kind of get that process through as efficiently as we can. There is an option. So if your child was on the wait list and you're really, really interested in the Early French Immersion program, there is an option of entering a district draw for space at another school. So you would remain on your local school's wait list, but there is an option to be in, should space come up at another school. There tend to be a lot of number of applicants for our kindergarten programs, but that option is there. And important to note, the kindergarten Early French Immersion wait lists and the wait list for all of our choice programs for kindergarten dissolve at the end of June. So if your child is on a wait list, regardless of their number on that wait list, the wait list is maintained by the school through the entire school year. But on that very last operational day of school in June, the wait list dissolves. So then, a parent who might be interested in applying for grade 1, that's a separate application process that we'll talk about shortly. And here we are for that process. So grade 1, and I know a few of you who are in this meeting right now may be applying for grade 1. So there are generally 2 entry points for Early French Immersion. That's kindergarten is the typical entry point. There's also an entry point into grade 1. It's a limited number of spaces that are available. Sometimes families ask, why is there an entry point in grade 1? Well, in all of our schools, kindergarten classes, and this comes down to the Ministry of Education's class cap, so to speak, the number of students in each class. So kindergarten classes go to a maximum of 20, and then grade 1 classes can go to a maximum a little bit higher of a couple students more. And there's a little bit of nuance there. There's a few factors, but so there's usually a few spaces in many of our schools. So we do offer a application procedure for grade 1 for the following year, and we're currently in that window right now. So if you're interested in applying for grade 1 for French immersion for next school year, and your child is of that age, you apply directly to your school of choice. So we have 11 elementary schools that offer Early French Immersion. So you can apply to, in this case, as many as you want. So you can apply to 1, 2. There's not that cap or that limit of 3. You can apply to 4 or 5. That's up to you as a parent or guardian. So you would apply directly to the school office, and we do have, and this is we have links online on our choice registration webpage, or you can contact the school as well. But we do have as a 1-page form, and that is delivered directly to the school. And the very time sensitive, so it does need to be. So our priority application period for grade 1 choice programs opened in November, on November 1st, and it closes on January 31st to be considered for that first priority group. And what that means is that, let's say a school has, I'll say 4 spaces, just as an example. If a given school had, say, 4 spaces in grade 1, and they had, let's say, 8 applicants, for example, for grade 1, of those 8 applicants that applied between or by January 31st with that paper form, those applicants would then be considered for registration, there would be a draw. And again, there is sibling priority for grade 1, similar to kindergarten, but though of those 8 applicants, they'd be considered in a draw. If a family, for example, applied on February 1st or March 3rd or later, that's absolutely allowable. So you can definitely apply for grade 1 after January 31st, but in that case, applications are then waitlisted in the order that they're received. Okay, so they're not part of that initial consideration or draw if there are more applications and spaces. And so there's the note there in light blue. And it's similar to the kindergarten process. All applicants will be contacted by email and either offered a space in the program or waitlisted. And if you're waitlisted, there is a number. You'll be given your number. I should have mentioned for the kindergarten, by the way, for the kindergarten email that you're going to get, you'll receive an offer or you'll be waitlisted. If the and you'll be given either your place on your numbered place on the wait list if the school that you applied for was your first choice. So again, I mentioned that you can have have up to 3 choice schools, and you do need to prioritize those. So for example, what is your first choice? What is your second choice? What is your third? And those choices are weighted. So in a sense, your first choice is weighted higher than your second choice school, higher than your third. So you'll receive in the email for kindergarten your place on the wait list for all of your first choice schools, and then for your second and third, it will just indicate that you're waitlisted. For grade 1, you will be given your number, your place number on the wait list in that email. And then grade 1 waitlist. So we said that kindergarten waitlist, they dissolve at the end of the school year. So they go for 10 months. Grade 1 waitlists are a little bit different. So they're in effect until the last day of September of that school year. So we're talking the school year 2020. Oh, I think that's 2023. Sorry, that's a little typo there. September 2023. That wait list would dissolve. So for example, the children start school on September 3rd, September 4th. The wait list goes until the end of that first month of school. Okay, so 1 month. And the reason that it dissolves then is by that time, if you imagine that the majority of students in the class have been in kindergarten, then students have been in grade 1 for the month. At that time, it would be really tricky for students in terms of language after that time. So the wait list dissolve at that time. So just to clarify that point, that would, in our case, that'd be September 30th, 2023. And we can move to the next slide. Great. And I'm going to turn it over to Janice.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Doug. So just in terms of grade 1 entry considerations, so students entering early French immersion at grade 1 may have a little bit of catch up to do with their peers who started in kindergarten. So you can expect a gap for a really short time, but typically from what we've seen by winter break, the children have caught up to the students who have participated in kindergarten. And then if your child is struggling either in K or 1, entry into a new program at that time could be considered, but I think it's really important what Jackie and Katarina spoke about earlier is in terms of really connecting with the teachers, and they're the best ones to be able to advise and connect with the administrators at the site. And then just wanting to finish with just the additional French language options. So some parents do ask, if we don't get into kindergarten or into grade 1, what other options are available. So French as a second language, core French, is taught in all mainstream elementary schools. I mentioned that at the beginning, in grades 5 to 7 at the elementary level, and continues on through to grade 9 at secondary. Intensive French is offered currently at Brock Elementary, so that's a grade 6-7 program. And then the Late French Immersion is offered at 3 sites currently, and that's a grade 6-7 program. The Late French Immersion students do stream into the secondary Early French Immersion with their counterparts who've done K-7. So those are some other options. So that is the presentation from our end.